It was a scorching, golden morning, the kind that made everything feel possible. Hakim, a humble but relentless farmer, clenched a small box in his pocket. A box that held not just a gift, but a lifetime of love, sacrifice, and unwavering devotion. After 30 years of marriage, he was finally ready to surprise the love of his life. This wasn't just any gift. It was a symbol of the promise he made decades ago to love her forever. He had spent years saving for this moment, overcoming hardships most people couldn't imagine. And now, standing outside the glittering storefront of an upscale jewelry store, he took a deep breath. He had never stepped foot in a place like this. The gleaming windows, the pristine marble floors, it all felt foreign, almost unwelcoming. But his love for his wife outweighed his hesitation. Yet, he squared his shoulders and walked inside, unaware that what should have been a beautiful moment was about to turn into a nightmare. At first, he admired the rings, searching for the perfect one to express all he felt for Anna. But before he could speak, he felt the weight of judgment settle on him. The room grew colder. Stares bore into him. A salesman dressed in an expensive suit sauntered over, arms crossed, his smirk condescending. "Can I help you?" His tone dripped with skepticism as his eyes flicked over Hakim's simple clothes and weathered hands. "Yes," Hakim said, standing his ground. "I'd like to buy a ring, something special for my wife." He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small, dented tin, the container where he had carefully stored his savings for years. He had no idea how much that simple act would ignite cruelty. The salesman's smirk widened into an outright sneer. "You're serious? You think you can afford something here?" With that, Hakim remained steady. "I've worked hard for this. This gift matters. Please show me that ring." He pointed at a simple but elegant piece in the glass case. The salesman chuckled and turned to his colleagues. "Did you hear that? He thinks he can buy something here with his tin can money." The laughter rippled through the store. A nearby employee, emboldened by the scene, muttered loudly, "Maybe he wants to trade some chickens for it." More laughter. More whispers. Hakim's hands tightened around his tin, but he refused to be broken. "I have enough. I can pay," he insisted. The salesman picked up the ring but didn't hand it over. Instead, he twirled it between his fingers, flashing it mockingly under the bright store lights. This costs more than you'd make in 5 years, even if you sold every chicken on that little farm of yours." The humiliation burned hot in Hakim's chest. Customers smirked, some shaking their heads in amusement. Others just stared, watching the scene unfold like a show meant for their entertainment. "You don't belong here," the salesman said, his voice sharper now. "Look at yourself. Those clothes, those hands. Do you really think you'd ever be a customer in a place like this?" The words struck harder than a slap, but Hakim refused to back down. "I just want something special for my wife. I don't deserve to be treated this way." The salesman stepped closer, his voice low but cruel. "We need a mirror. Maybe then you'll understand." Hakim didn't move. The salesman's patience snapped. He slapped Hakim's hand away from the counter. Not hard, but enough to make a statement. "I told you to leave before you dirty something." He gestured toward the door. "Maybe try the corner market. That's more your style." The store went silent for a brief second, before the laughter erupted again. Hakim's shoulders slumped, his resolve cracked. Defeated, he turned toward the door, the ring, his dream slipping away with every step. But as he passed a quiet corner of the store, something shifted. A figure stood up, a man, dressed simply, wearing a baseball cap. His movements were slow but deliberate. He adjusted his jacket, then walked toward the counter. The laughter died instantly. The room held its breath, and then came the voice. Calm, steady, unmistakable. And now it's my turn to speak. Every head turned. Every eye widened in disbelief. Keanu Reeves stood before him. And what he did next changed everything. Outside the store, the weight of humiliation still pressed down on Hakim. He lowered his gaze, trying to steady his breathing. He could still hear the salesman's cruel laughter, still feel the stares drilling into him like daggers. "They shouldn't have treated you like that," came a calm, steady voice behind him. Hakim turned, his eyes meeting those of the stranger who had followed him out. Something about this man's presence was different, grounded, unwavering. He didn't yet realize who he was speaking to. Embarrassed, Hakim tried to brush it off. Maybe they were right. Maybe I don't belong in a place like that. Keanu shook his head, his tone firm yet kind. That's not true. You have every right to be anywhere you choose. You deserve to be treated with respect. For a moment, Hakim hesitated, but there was something in Keanu's voice, something real, a quiet sincerity that made him feel safe enough to speak. I just wanted something special for my wife, he admitted, his voice barely above a whisper. We've been married for 30 years. I saved for so long to buy that ring. I didn't think it would be this hard. Keanu studied him for a beat, arms crossed in thought. Then he smiled softly. You love her a lot, don't you? Hakim's eyes glistened with emotion. More than anything, she's been by my side through the worst times. I wanted to show her that even after all this time, her love still means everything to me. Keanu nodded. That's worth more than any ring in that store. Hakim shrugged, fighting back tears. But I wanted her to have something beautiful, something that shows how special she is. Keanu placed a steady hand on Hakim's shoulder. His expression was resolute. Then let's go back in there. Hakim stiffened. I don't think I can face them again. Keanu's reassuring smile returned. Trust me, he said, his voice calm but certain. I'll handle it. And with that, they turned back toward the store. As they walked, heads turned. Passers-by stole glances at the unlikely pair, a weathered farmer and a mysterious, confident stranger. Hakim still didn't fully understand who this man was, but something about him radiated a quiet power. It gave him a renewed sense of courage. The moment they reached the glass doors, Hakim hesitated. Keanu met his gaze and gave a firm nod. It's going to be okay. Inside, the salesman was still laughing, joking with his colleagues as if nothing had happened. He had no idea that the storm he had stirred was about to come crashing down on him. Keanu's expression darkened. The quiet ease he had carried moments ago was gone, replaced by something sharper, unshakable resolve. As they stepped inside, the energy in the room shifted. The laughter died. The whispers stopped. Silence. The contrast was striking. Hakim in his worn clothes, walking beside Keanu, whose stride was smooth, confident, unbothered. It was as if the air itself had thickened, crackling with an unspoken tension. The salesman, still caught mid-smirk, frowned slightly, confused by the sudden change in the atmosphere. Can I help you? He asked, his previous arrogance flickering with uncertainty. Keanu didn't answer immediately. Instead, he stepped up to the counter, his presence alone shifting the entire dynamic of the room. The salesman glanced at his colleagues. Something about this man's energy made him uneasy. Sir? He tried again. Keanu finally spoke. I couldn't help but notice how you treated this man earlier. His voice was calm, measured, and I have to ask, do you always treat customers this way? Or was today special? The salesman blinked, caught off guard. I didn't mean. Keanu raised a hand, stopping him mid-sentence. You didn't mean to? His head tilted slightly, his gaze cutting through the man like a blade. That's interesting, because from where I stood, it looked pretty intentional. A hush fell over the store. Customers leaned in, whispering among themselves. Some had already recognized Keanu Reeves, while others simply sensed that something monumental was unfolding. Hakim shifted nervously, but Keanu shot him a brief glance, just enough to reassure him. Then he turned back to the salesman, his tone sharpening. You had the audacity to humiliate this man. A man who walked in here with nothing but respect and honesty. You laughed at him, mocked him, tried to make him feel small. The salesman's face flushed deep red. He opened his mouth to speak, but Keanu didn't give him the chance. I'm sorry, the salesman stammered. I didn't think. No. Keanu cut in, his voice now unwavering. You didn't think, but it's time you learned something. True worth has nothing to do with money, or clothes, or appearances. Then Keanu straightened, glancing down at the ring Hakim had been eyeing before the cruelty began. He pointed to it. Let's see that ring again. The salesman hesitated. His fingers twitched slightly as he reached for it. His once unwavering confidence was gone. His hands trembled. Keanu didn't look away. He let the moment stretch, let the weight of his words settle over the room. And then as the salesman slowly handed over the ring, his pale face betraying the collapse of his arrogance, Keanu spoke once more. Because this man deserves it. His voice was steady, but the steel beneath it was unmistakable. "And trust me, you're going to treat him with the respect he's owed." Hakim stood frozen, watching the entire scene unfold in disbelief. Who was this man? And why was he standing up for him like this? But before he could fully process it, something happened. The store's glass doors swung open once again. The moment that followed would change everything, because now the entire store was watching. And Keanu Reeves? He had only just begun. As they strolled down the street, Hakim's mind was still reeling from what had just happened. The sharp sting of humiliation had faded, replaced by something unexpected: hope. Walking beside Keanu, he felt lighter, as if the weight of years of quiet struggle had been lifted, even if just for a moment. Keanu's sharp eyes caught sight of another jewelry store, a smaller, cozier shop with warm lighting spilling onto the sidewalk. It lacked the cold, sterile opulence of the first store, but it radiated something far more valuable: genuine warmth. "Well, let's try here," Keanu said, motioning toward the entrance. Hakim hesitated but then nodded. Together they stepped inside. Phew. The moment they entered, a kind-looking woman greeted them with a warm smile. "Welcome. How can I help you today?" Hakim hesitated, unsure of what to say, but Keanu gave him an encouraging nod. Gathering his courage, he shared his story: his wife, their anniversary, the ring he had saved for, and the cruelty he had faced just minutes before. As he spoke, the woman's expression softened with empathy. "I think I have the perfect ring for you," she said kindly, and led them to a special display. Hakim's breath caught as his eyes landed on a ring even more beautiful than the one he had seen in the first store. Simple, elegant, and radiant. It was exactly what he had hoped for. His fingers trembled slightly as he reached for it, his heart pounding. "The craftsmanship is beautiful," Keanu observed, nodding in approval. Hakim turned to the saleswoman. "How much is it?" She gave him a kind smile. "Let's see what we can do." With reverence, Hakim carefully counted out his savings, placing each bill on the counter. As he did, Keanu subtly signaled to the attendant, slipping in the remaining amount without Hakim noticing. This wasn't about charity. It was about ensuring a good man received the dignity and kindness he deserved. As the transaction was completed, Hakim held the small box in his hands, his eyes welling up with gratitude. Turning to Keanu, he struggled to find the words. "I'll never forget what you did for me today." "Thank you." Keanu placed a reassuring hand on Hakim's shoulder. "The love you feel for your wife is already the most valuable gift you could ever give her. This ring is just a symbol of that." As they stepped outside, Keanu glanced back at the luxury jewelry store they had left behind. His gaze was firm, unwavering. Sometimes, he said quietly, more to himself than to anyone else, a people need to learn the hard way that a person's worth is never in their appearance or the weight of their wallet. By the next morning, the events at the luxury store had begun circulating on social media. A customer who had witnessed the scene had secretly recorded part of the interaction between Keanu, the salesman, and Hakim. The video quickly gained traction, capturing the attention of viewers worldwide. The clip featured the moment when Keanu had said, "What a mistake. What a huge mistake." It became an iconic statement against arrogance and prejudice. People from all walks of life shared the video, inspired by Keanu's defense of Hakim. He not only restored the dignity of a humble man, but delivered a powerful lesson about respect and humanity. One user commented, "This is what it means to use fame for good," another wrote. Keanu is the ultimate example of humility and kindness. The incident garnered so much attention that it reached the upper management of the luxury store. The store's owner, a prominent businessman, felt compelled to address the situation publicly. In a press conference, he issued a formal apology. "We deeply regret the incident that occurred in our store. This is not the type of behavior we promote, and steps have already been taken to ensure such actions will not happen again. The employee responsible has been terminated." Meanwhile, back at his modest farm, Hakim finally returned home, holding the ring with a sense of accomplishment and peace. He had achieved his goal thanks to Keanu's help. On the evening of their 30th wedding anniversary, he prepared a simple yet heartfelt surprise for Anna. Their backyard was adorned with candles and flowers, creating a warm, intimate setting under the stars. Anna, unsuspecting, stepped outside. Her face lit up in amazement. "Oh, Priz, all this. Did you do this by yourself?" Hakim smiled softly. "It took some effort, but it's nothing compared to everything you've done for me over the past 30 years. Sit down, there's something I need to tell you." As Anna sat, he took her hands, his voice trembling slightly but full of sincerity. "Our life has been simple, but full of stories. We've had hard times, nights when we didn't know what the next day would bring, but in every single moment, you were my strength. You stood by me even when I had nothing to offer but my love." As the couple celebrated their renewed vows in the quiet of their home, their love story, along with Keanu's kindness, continued to inspire people worldwide. Meanwhile, back at his own home, Keanu sat in silence, watching the viral video once more. A faint smile crossed his lips as he replayed the moment when Hakim stood tall in the face of humiliation. He murmured to himself, "the greatest luxury in life isn't found in expensive things or extravagant places. It's in love, courage, and humanity." What Hakim taught me is that the worth of a person should never be measured by what they wear or what they carry in their pocket. He leaned back in his chair thoughtful, and I hope we all remember that. And you? What would you do to show your love for someone special?